Hey Trey, how you doing? Okay, all right, no written accompaniment, so let's just jump right over to your presentation, which I have right here. Oh, there's your written rationale right here. Okay, this is pretty good. I can relate to this because my kids are huge Star Wars fans, huge. Um, you mentioned you have your Darth Vader costume. My son also he also has one. He's got all the busts and all he's just got a ton of stuff. They love it. Um, anyway, so yeah, I think there's plenty that can relate with the whole Star Wars and the change of the franchise and this whole thing that you talk about in your post. So good stuff here. Let's go ahead and jump over to the presentations themselves. So I want you to keep something in mind in presentation. As a graphic designer, you want to present your work, but you also want to keep in mind that when you're presenting your work, you want to present the task at hand, so to speak. So for example, this being a typography class, we want to show your typographic intent here. I know it's really super easy for a student, and probably students tend to jump into the whole page layout as opposed to concentrating on different portions of the page. In this particular case, you've got these wonderful sketches, and then you've got just squares indicating where the type is. The problem here is that we don't have any indication of headline, subhead, opening deck, drop caps, justification, or in a lot of cases, the grid itself. So really, really want to think about how your sketches represent your intent. And your sketches, while we're not looking for the next a Rembrandt of sketch artists, we are looking for a very high degree of intent. Let me show you an example, Trey. I think this will make a lot of sense. But if I jump over here, and right now I'm in the week one, project one, part one, articles and sketches. This is the assignment page. And we can see these examples. Now, as in the examples, we can see this is just a really good depiction of how the headline would be handled. Including placement, the type of typeface, and kind of that distressed kind of grunge look, set at a slant. We've got the illustration and its relationship, setting a spatial size relationship from the illustration to the headline to the picture plane itself. And then we also have a depiction of the 3-column type grid on the right-hand side of the page. I take that back. This would be a 2-column type grid, and this would be more of a caption, probably a deck head that is describing the article. And then here we also have a really great depiction of the headline, where it stands, its relationship to the opening image. We got the 2-column grid on each side of the page, and we have everything really represented to a very high degree. And then the same thing over here. And we see the same thing in the second. This one is really detailed, showing drop caps on each of the paragraphs, the headline, subhead, placement of images, the main story headline, and a really good depiction of the intent of each of these spreads. So my recommendation moving forward is that whenever you present sketches, you really want to represent to a very, very high degree the intent of the work itself. So that said, let's go ahead here, and you really want to think about how you're going to introduce headlines, subheads, and a deck paragraph that kind of indicates the meaning of the article. And then you jump into your text. Drop cap is a great way to introduce your viewer to text. And so on and so forth. So at this point, I think you have a good idea of where you want to go with the project, but I just think that the sketches are underdeveloped. And I say that more moving forward, not only in this class, but in your other classes and eventually into your career, so you understand the ramifications of sketching as it relates to a depiction of the final concept. At this point, I don't think it would be feasible to resketch and to redo the presentation. I think right now at this point it would be time better spent to go ahead and decide which of these three you feel has the most potential and start developing in that regard. Okay, so at this point, just let's go ahead. As I said, you choose whichever direction you feel has the most potential. And if you have any questions at all, or if I can clarify anything at all, please get with me immediately. It's really super important that we get things really straight. It's important to me that you understand everything I'm saying. I think it's It's very important to me. As we move through the class, you'll see that I have a pretty high degree of engagement with each individual student. So I'll be really taking a look at things, making sure individual students get all of the things instead of just kind of approaching this like a group. Do you see what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense to you. And I think it's more expeditious that way. I think it's also more valuable for each student to have individual, really kind of customized comments to their own work. So, all right. That said, again, any questions, comments, concerns, or clarifications, please let me know as soon as possible. Thank you very much, Trey.